I'm talking today to Gil Kenan, the director of Monster House.
Hello.
Which I guess you hope is going to be a monster hit.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, got the title to go with a monster hit, sure. I have to ask this right out, Gil, because how old are you?
I'm 29 years old.
Because you look young.
Yeah, I think it's
you don't look 29.
It's the T-shirt and
the hair,
and I get to do something that I really love for a living. So I
keeps
think
you young.
It makes me excited, and so I've been really lucky. I got to make a movie I really was passionate about right out of school, and I think I've got this adrenaline rush that hasn't stopped yet.
Well, in the previews of the trailers it says, executive producers Robert Zemeckis, Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in pretty heady company.
Sure, yeah, it's intense.
And did they call up and say Steven Spielberg's on the phone for you?
It was pretty much like that.
Was it really?
Well, it started off with Robert Zemeckis, who's
no slacker himself.
No. Yeah, I mean, both of them are idols of mine in the world of film. They made movies that changed my life as a kid, and so Zemeckis had gotten a hold of the film that I made at school, The Lark, and he liked it, and he called me in to talk Monster House. I came in. I went nuts before the meeting because I was so excited, and I channeled all that energy into ideas and into drawings, and I brought all that into our first meeting, and so it was kind of like a fairy tale, really.
But Gil, did you know they were thinking of you to direct the movie?
You mean instead of deliver coffee? Yeah. A little bird had whispered it to me, so I was obviously really intimidated, but pretty much kind of thrilled and energized by the possibility that I had, 1 in a million shot of actually getting the job, and that little tiny ounce of optimism kind of drove me, and I never really looked back.
Well, here you are going to direct the movie Monster House,
right.
And you, again, associated with Robert Zemeckis of Back to the Future fame and Steven Spielberg of everything else fame, and then you get it. Did you get a hand in the casting?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean,
I
actually,
the voice talent in this thing is amazing.
I mean, I actually was kind of foolish enough to think that I could show up and have a piece of paper with my dream cast
Here's
written
who
on
I
it.
won't.
And somehow through the miracle of this process, I actually ended up with that cast. And
Steve Buscemi, Maggie Gyllenhaal,
Kathleen Turner, Jason Lee, John Heder, on and on. And they're, each one is so ideally suited for their roles. They really created these parts, and so I was just lucky enough to be able to work with such accomplished talent on my first film.
That's just amazing.
It
amazing.
is.
Did you get to make the calls and say, "Hey, we've cast you as the Zoe, the babysitter"?
I don't really know how that stuff works. There's so many phones between me and every other person in the world. But I was always really thrilled the first time I met the actors on stage. It was always the moment of like, whoa, I know you from the movies. I've watched you in every movie you've ever been, and then I realized,
and here we are.
Wait, I'm supposed to direct you. Okay, right. And now where do we begin? And so it was always like a couple of seconds of me having to catch my breath, and then realizing that these people were so giving and so open to working with me, and from that point on, I just kind of developed my own relationship with them.
One thing I really liked about the movie is that it operates on several levels.
Mm-hmm.
Parents can take their kids and not be bored because
right.
they're going to be entertained and engrossed by the movie,
right.
the plot. How did you keep those levels going?
By not thinking of them as levels. I just tried to make a movie that kept me now interested and me as a kid watching movies, in my head interested, and knowing that kids are really smart and really sharp and are able to watch a movie that has some a real story and some actual themes and some different points to think about after the movie's done. So I didn't really make it for parents per se or kids. There wasn't that line or now I'll throw a line to the grown-ups. It was always just trying to make a movie that had a bit of depth to it, and this movie does delve into some things that we're not used to in animated films. It's got real horror, it's got real scares,
Yeah.
and it's also got this,
and it's real funny.
oh right, and I think all of that stuff is always there. There's always like a tension between the comedy and the horror, and that's kind of what made working on this film so much fun. Because for me, that tonal balance was job one, really.
What about the look of the film? Because, again, I don't know that much about animation, but it's Shrek-like to me. It's got the same type of animation that Shrek had.
Well, I mean, what it shares is that it's computer generated.
Is that?
Yeah, but beyond that, I think that what we've got here is one of the first animated films that really is driven by human performance. The actors were there on the set shooting this film, but instead of film in the cameras, there was infrared cameras that were capturing digital information. So whenever, let's say, Steve Buscemi would make a body gesture or would speak, that was picked up as digital information that then was applied to the animated character. And in that sense, the actors were like puppeteers. They were creating the animation of
So they
their
were actually
characters.
acting physically the role all the way through it.
Every single line in this film was performed, and that's why you get kind of a depth of performance. I think there's some nuances and subtleties in this film that would be very difficult to achieve without that process.
Well, so they were all there at the same time.
Oh, every single
because
actor.
Other animated films that I've talked to the directors and all, they say no, they come in and by themselves do their lines, somebody feeds their lines to them, but they never interact with the other actors.
No, and that's, it seems to me like such a disability of those films, that you don't get the human interaction, the spontaneity that
That's
you
great
get.
to know.
Yeah, and it's what made working on it so much fun. 3 kids individually could be entertaining, but you put 3 kids together in real space, and they go nuts in a way that only that interaction can foster. And there's weirdness, there's comedy, there's tension, all that stuff that happens when you put real 12-year-old 2 boys and a girl together, and all that chemistry is all real. It's all there in the screen.
Because they feed off each other.
Exactly.
Too. Yeah, I did not know that. I'm glad to know.
Well, that's why I'm here.
That's why you're here. You're the man with the information.
Right.
That's absolutely right. Well, now, are you locked into animated films, though, or do you want to do all kind of films?
No, I'm locked into good stories, basically, and I'm just going to follow stories in my career and not worry about the technology. Monster House was animated using real actors. My next film is live action.
What's your next film?
It's a science fiction film that I'm in pre-production on. But it's all about telling good stories, and I think that's really why we go to the movies and why I want to make movies for the rest of my life.
Well, I'm just betting you've got a lot of good stories in you that you're going to bring to the screen.
Let's hope.
Thank you so much for taking
been a pleasure.
this
Thank
time.
you.
This has been fun, and I've really learned a lot, too.
Good.
Thanks a lot.
My pleasure.